In a small town on the Faroe Islands, the ocean turns red several times each year. This is Tórshavn, the last place on Earth where communities still hunt pilot whales from open boats, using methods barely changed in centuries. When a pod is spotted offshore, a siren sounds. Within minutes, hundreds of people drop what they're doing and head to the beach. What happens next has sustained these islanders for over 1,000 years, and made them among the most controversial people in Europe. So what is life actually like in the last whaling town? The Grindadrap, the pilot whale hunt, defines life here in ways outsiders rarely understand. But Tórshavn is not a whaling town in the commercial sense. No one sells whale meat. No companies profit from it. The practice exists in a category almost extinct in the modern world, a genuine subsistence hunt, carried out by a wealthy, educated population that could easily buy their food elsewhere. To understand why 50,000 people defend something the rest of the world condemns, you have to understand what it means to live on these islands. Tórshavn sits on Streymoy, the largest of 18 volcanic islands halfway between Iceland and Scotland. Population, 14,000. It's the smallest capital city in Europe, yet one of the wealthiest per capita. The Faroe Islands are a self-governing territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, but fiercely autonomous in culture and law. The language is Faroese, closer to Old Norse than modern Scandinavian tongues. The islands were settled by Vikings fleeing Norway's unification in the 9th century. For over a millennium, these communities survived on what the islands provided: fish, seabirds, potatoes, and whale. The landscape is severe. 18 islands, 17 inhabited, none more than 30 miles long. Vertical cliffs, treeless mountains, 9 months of gray Atlantic weather. Average temperature in winter, 3 degrees Celsius. In summer, 11. There are more sheep than people, 70,000 to 52,000. Until the 1980s, many villages were accessible only by boat. Now a network of tunnels and bridges connects most communities, though several islands still rely on ferries and helicopters. The isolation shaped everything: language, food, social structure, and the Grindadrap. Pilot whales, long-finned, actually a large dolphin species, migrate past the Faroe Islands each summer and autumn in pods of dozens or hundreds. Faroese law states that any pod driven ashore must be divided equally among the community. The meat and blubber are distributed for free, based on household size and need. No money changes hands. It's been this way since before written records. The hunt isn't commercial whaling, banned globally in most forms. It's classified as Aboriginal subsistence hunting, like Inuit seal hunts or Alaskan indigenous whaling, and remains legal under international law despite fierce opposition. Tórshavn has about 40 Grindadrap events per decade, though the number varies wildly. Some years see none. Others, several. When a pod is spotted, the siren sounds. Boats shepherd the whales toward approved beaches. Once ashore, licensed participants kill them quickly with a spinal lance designed to cause near-instant death. The entire community processes the catch. By evening, freezers across town are stocked with meat that will feed families for months. Housing in Tórshavn looks deceptively quaint, colorful wooden houses with turf roofs, clustered along the harbor. But these aren't rustic cottages. Inside, underfloor heating, fiber-optic internet, Scandinavian design furniture. A modest 3-bedroom house in the city center costs around 2 million Danish kroner, roughly £260,000. Rent for a small apartment runs 8,000 kroner monthly, about £1,000. These are Norwegian prices, not remote island prices. Mortgages are common, wages are high. The average salary is about 450,000 kroner per year, £58,000. Food costs reflect total import dependence. A liter of milk, 18 kroner. A loaf of bread, 35. A kilogram of chicken, 80. A basic grocery shop that would cost £40 in the UK costs 70 here. Almost everything arrives by cargo ship from Denmark. The islands grow potatoes, some vegetables in greenhouses, and raise sheep. Fish is abundant and cheap. But citrus, grains, coffee, cooking oil, all imported, all expensive. This is where whale meat changes the equation. A family receiving a share from a single hunt might take home 50 kilograms of meat and blubber. In terms of protein, that's equivalent to 500 pounds of imported beef. For free. Whale blubber is eaten raw, cut into small cubes, or boiled with potatoes. The meat is served sliced thin, wind-dried, or stewed. It tastes rich, almost livery, dense with iron. Older generations eat it weekly. Younger Faroese eat it less, partly due to health warnings about mercury and PCB contamination, partly due to changing tastes. The government now recommends limited consumption, especially for pregnant women. But it remains part of the food culture, served at birthdays, Christmas, weddings. Not eating it is a choice, not having access to it is unthinkable. Transport is straightforward. Tórshavn has buses, but most people drive. Fuel is expensive, about 12 kroner per liter. The islands have 400 kilometers of paved road, including subsea tunnels linking islands. One tunnel, Tunnelen, features around about 60 meters below the Atlantic. There are no trains. Helicopters connect the smallest islands. The airport at Vágar offers flights to Copenhagen, Reykjavik, Edinburgh. A return ticket to Copenhagen, around 3,000 kroner, 400 pounds. For a population of 50,000, the infrastructure is extraordinary, funded by fishing exports, petroleum industry services, and substantial Danish subsidies. It's not a poor or struggling place. It's modern, orderly, and extremely expensive. Work in the Faroe Islands revolves around fishing. The industry accounts for nearly 20% of GDP and over 90% of exports. Tórshavn's harbor hosts trawlers, processing plants, and logistics companies shipping salmon, cod, and mackerel to Europe and Asia. Faroese salmon farming is among the world's most advanced. A deckhand on a trawler earns around 40,000 kroner per month, 5,200 pounds. Long hours, hard work, but steady. Office jobs in the growing finance and tech sectors pay similarly. Unemployment sits below 3%. There's no poverty in the visible sense, but there's also no massive wealth. It's a flat, Nordic-style economy. Education is Danish standard. Free, compulsory to age 16. Tórshavn has the University of the Faroe Islands, enrolling about 700 students in Faroese language, nursing, and natural sciences. Most young people leave for university in Denmark, Iceland, or Scotland. Many return, many don't. Brain drain is a constant concern. The population is aging. Birth rates are stable but low. The islands need immigration to sustain services, yet culturally remain insular. Faroese is the first language, Danish is mandatory in school. English is widely spoken, especially among the young. Healthcare is tax-funded, universal, Nordic quality. Tórshavn has the national hospital, offering everything from emergency care to surgery. Specialist treatment often requires a flight to Denmark, covered by the health system. Life expectancy, 81 years. There are no private hospitals. Mental health services are limited, isolation and dark winters take a toll. Suicide rates are higher than Denmark's, lower than Greenland's. Alcoholism exists but isn't culturally dominant. The social safety net is strong, unemployment benefits, pensions, disability support, all Danish model. The Grindedrap affects work life in unexpected ways. When the siren sounds, employers expect people to leave. It's not a legal right, but it's culturally embedded. a teacher might abandon a lesson mid-sentence. A bank clerk will close their window. Participation is voluntary, but community expectation is heavy. Those who hunt receive a share. Those who don't, often still do. Neighbors distribute portions to the elderly, the sick, anyone who contributed indirectly. It's a system of reciprocity older than money. Family ties are the foundation of Faroese life. Extended families often live within walking distance. Grandparents are deeply involved in childcare. Divorce rates are lower than Scandinavian averages. Marriages are celebrated with multi-day feasts featuring fish, lamb, and yes, whale. Children grow up bilingual, bicultural, Faroese at home, Danish in school, global through the internet. Yet the pull of place is strong. Many who leave for university feel unmoored in cities like Copenhagen or London. The islands are small enough that everyone knows everyone. In Tórshavn, you see familiar faces daily. It's comforting and claustrophobic. Community traditions persist with surprising intensity. Chain dancing, groups holding hands, singing ballads, moving in a circle, happens at weddings and festivals. Olavsoka, the national holiday in late July, draws the entire population to Tórshavn for boat races, music, and public celebrations. Church attendance is higher than Denmark's, though not fervent. The Faroese are culturally Lutheran but practically secular. Religion matters more as identity than theology. The Grindedrap sits at the center of this communal life. It's not just food, it's proof of self-sufficiency, a demonstration that these islands can sustain themselves without outside help. For older generations, it's memory. Their grandparents survived winter on whale meat and dried fish. For younger people, it's more conflicted. Many participate out of tradition, some with ambivalence. A growing minority oppose it, though they rarely speak publicly. To criticize the hunt is to question Faroese identity itself, and that invites social isolation. Outside pressure has hardened attitudes. When Greenpeace or Sea Shepherd arrive, communities close ranks. The hunt becomes a symbol of autonomy, resistance to mainland European values imposed on a culture that predates them. It's complicated, painful, and not easily resolved. But in daily life, it's simply part of the rhythm. The siren sounds. People go to the beach. By evening, freezers are full. The world sees the Faroe Islands through two images: dramatic cliffs on Instagram, and bloodied beaches on activist websites. Both are real. Neither is complete. The largest misconception is that the Faroese are backwards, clinging to a cruel practice out of ignorance. In reality, they are among the most educated, wealthiest, environmentally conscious people in Europe. Internet penetration is near 100%. They follow international news, speak multiple languages, understand exactly how the rest of the world views them. They continue the hunt not in spite of modernity, but as a conscious choice within it. Another myth: the Grindedrap is barbaric and inhumane. International veterinary studies have examined the killing method. When done correctly, the spinal lance causes death in seconds, comparable to or faster than industrial slaughterhouse methods. The European Food Safety Authority has noted that stress levels in driven whales are difficult to measure, but the Faroese have updated techniques repeatedly to minimize suffering. It's not a perfect process, no killing is, but it's not the prolonged cruelty often depicted. The optics are terrible. Blood in seawater spreads visibly. But optics and ethics are not the same. The environmental argument is more nuanced. Pilot whales are not endangered. The North Atlantic population is estimated at several hundred thousand. The Faroe Islands take roughly 600 annually on average, well within sustainable limits according to marine biologists. The real concern is contamination. Pilot whale blubber contains high levels of mercury and PCBs from ocean pollution. The Faroese chief medical officer has recommended pregnant women avoid it entirely, and others limit consumption. This is a crisis for the tradition, not from outside pressure, but from the poisoning of the ocean itself. The unexpected advantage of life here is resilience. The Faroe Islands have food security most nations envy. When COVID-19 disrupted supply chains, the islands barely noticed. Fish, lamb, potatoes, and whale kept the population fed. Unemployment remained low. The community infrastructure held. It's a fragile independence, dependent on Danish subsidies and fishing exports, but it's real. In an uncertain world, the Faroese have something rare, the proven ability to sustain themselves. Yet the future is unclear. Tourism is growing rapidly, drawn by dramatic landscapes and accessible flights. Visitors arrive expecting untouched nature and Nordic hygge, then encounter a culture that kills whales. The cognitive dissonance is severe. The Faroese must decide what they are willing to change, and what they will defend at any cost. On a quiet afternoon in Tórshavn, the siren remains silent. Children play football on the harbor. Trawlers unload cod. The supermarket sells imported apples at 15 kroner each. Life is ordinary, modern. Then, without warning, the sound cuts through the air. Within minutes, the harbor fills. Boats launch. People gather on the shore. The ocean will turn red again, and the town will process what it has taken, as it has for 1,000 years. To outsiders, this is incomprehensible. To the Faroese, it is survival made visible, a reminder that they are not dependent, not fragile, not governed entirely by the rules of a mainland that has never had to live on 18 rocks in the North Atlantic. They know the moral weight of what they do. They carry it consciously. But they also carry the memory of hunger, of winters when the sea was all that stood between their ancestors and starvation. The world will not stop watching. Activists will return. Petitions will circulate. The European Parliament will debate sanctions. The Faroese will listen, defend, and continue. Not because they are cruel or ignorant, but because they have made a calculation about what it means to be Faroese in the 21st century. They have chosen to remain themselves, even when it costs them reputation, tourism, and the comfort of fitting neatly into modern European identity. In the last whaling town, the future is uncertain. The ocean is poisoned. The young are conflicted. The old are dying. But as long as the pilot whales migrate past these islands, and as long as the law permits, the siren will sound. And the boats will launch.